Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Paul, and on this channel I like to go over things that I'm curious about and things that I've looked into I like to share. So with this video, I wanted to talk about the concept of risk versus reward in terms of decision making, not in terms of just probably where you hear that with investing. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this topic in particular was I just recently reviewed a book called Thinking in Bets. And that book, I felt like very much so in a longer form, described a lot of my thinking process that I had done for a while. And so I wanted to record a video just to give you some examples on how this concept may be able to help you in terms of thinking risk versus reward. So, pretty much with any unknown that I approach, especially when it involves time. Time is this biggest factor in what I'm about to say here. When I approach anything unknown, and there's two different ways of doing things. The quick way, which means it's not guaranteed, but if it does work, it would be quicker. Or the way that you could say the normal way. So, like, let's say we have the two different options here. The quick way could be 15 minutes, but we don't know if it works. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to then undo the things and then come back and do it correctly. So I'd have to do option 2 and undo option 1. Okay. And like, let's say the time differential on this is like the normal way is going to take 35 minutes, but the quick way, if it works, is going to take 15. For me, the saving the time of the 20 minutes that I would save versus spending the extra, 30 to potentially 40 minutes of trying to do things quick and then undoing things, to me, would, in that case, I would just choose option 2, even though I know I potentially could get it done faster. And so there are a lot of things like this that I always say, okay, is the possible reward enough to outweigh the risk that's involved with it? Is it enough to outweigh, the cost that, like the time that I'll save? Is it enough to outweigh the money I may lose, if I do it and whatnot? I think I've done a few of these things too with investments, and I've said, okay, the potential upside, it has, whatever upside, and I like the upside. But what's the risk? Okay, if I lose X amount of dollars and it doesn't work out, was this still worth? This is what I always ask myself. In the education part of it alone, was this still worth the investment? Because at that point, you're pretty much paying for a lesson. And if I can ever answer yes to that, then I move forward with it. Not okay with either option, but understanding, hoping for the first option, which is, to make money on it and whatnot, but okay with the second option in terms of, okay, I'm just paying for a lesson. Like everyone who ever tries to pursue anything with, in terms of like growing their money, is going to face losses. And so you kind of just say, okay, this is, one of those price points and whatnot. And so I just wanted to give those two examples to hopefully give some type of idea behind this risk versus reward. And you can put it to finances, but then you can also put it to time. And where I do this most often, honestly, is with time. It's almost always is whatever this shortcut that I'm about to do, is it worth it if it's wrong? And almost every single time I have found I've made the choice to do things right the first time, because I'm like, whatever time it's saving me, it's not worth it to go back and have to do the whole thing over if it doesn't work. But this concept of risk versus reward, it also takes, which this is, I believe her name was Annie Dukes, who wrote that book, Thinking in Bets. But this is something that I think she did a great job at saying, is when you think of things in terms of percentages or risk versus reward, instead of like a right versus wrong type of processing, not being binary, but saying, hey, there are many, many things that could happen. But I'm saying I'm going to measure these two highest probabilities and understand, the potential payoff, and also understand the potential risk of it. and understanding whatever option we choose, it doesn't mean it was right or wrong. It was just probabilities, and sometimes it does land on the 10% probability that you weren't necessarily expecting, and things don't go well. But you accounted for that, and so you're not saying, "Oh, I made the wrong decision. I knew I shouldn't have done that." And this is what you'll find with people who tend to be more binary in their thinking of right versus wrong, is they'll get burned a couple times and then assume something is wrong with either their thinking or other people out in the world. They're just too dangerous to do whatever. And then those losses cloud their thinking rather than going, okay, it's kind of strange that the probabilities have kept going on the 10 percentiles, but it's just understanding that's part of the game. Sometimes you're going to hit a lot of the minorities for a while before you hit that bigger probability of what you've been expecting and whatnot. So applying this to the different areas of life, whether it be time, money, etc., this concept I feel like could help tremendously if you start applying it to those areas and not beating yourself up potentially if one of these things goes wrong. So with that being said, if you have not seen that book review I believe it was for January's book review, which was last month. I believe it was for that one. Go ahead and check that one out. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.